Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to my channel, Le Cast Iron Cooking. Today we're going to make biscuits and sausage gravy, homemade buttermilk biscuits. And this was a request from one of my Facebook friends and one of my personal friends, Brian Cornelius. So shout out to Brian. I know everybody's been waiting on this, and it's really not that difficult. I've tried to measure out my components based on the Southern Living recipe that they have out, because mine are very similar to theirs. So when we do the buttermilk, although it calls for 1 cup in their recipe, I actually use more because I like a more moist biscuit. So the first thing we're going to do is I put a stick of butter in the freezer and let it get frozen because we're going to grate it. So let's go ahead and get that done, and then we'll begin the process. I know sitting here watching me unwrap butter is probably not the funnest thing that you've ever seen, but it's necessary. Alright, so all you're going to do, you're going to grate this butter and make sure it's frozen and get it done as fast as possible. You don't want the heat of your hands to get to that butter, because we want really, really cold butter. So as soon as we get this grated, life will be much easier. Sometimes you get down to the end of it there, you might have to just kind of break it up with your fingers, which I'm going to do because I don't want to cut my fingers. As a lot of y'all know, I had a very bad cut on my fingers not too long ago, and we had to have stitches put in my fingers, so I'm very careful about what I do. Anyway, I will be right back. I've got to take a quick break, and we'll put all this together. I'm terribly sorry about the break we had to make. For some odd reason, my cameraman was recording, and it just turned off on him. I don't know why. So what I've done, which we thought we were recording, but we weren't, and I can't re-record it because I got to use what I did. But the grated butter I put in here, and I mixed it all up. I also took about 1.5 tablespoons of Crisco, and I put that in the flour really, really small. I kind of mixed it with my fingers really small to go into the flour, and I mixed it up. And you want it to look kind of like cornmeal, like beads. If you have any larger pieces, just break it up. But don't spend a lot of time on this, because you don't want your fat, which is the butter and the Crisco, you don't want it to get warm, so that it will, the biscuits won't come together right. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm going to wash my hands right quick. Alright, now here's where it kind of gets tricky. Their recipe calls, like, I've never measured biscuits in my life, but their recipe calls for 1 cup of buttermilk. We also want to put a pinch of salt in there too. So we're going to put 1 cup of buttermilk in here, but I'm going to show you that it's going to take more. And then I just have to eyeball it after this. So what you're going to do is you're going to incorporate all this. Don't go too fast or you have flour all over you. And see, that's not a wet enough biscuit for me. That's just not. See how it's still dry right in there and it's flaky like that? I don't want it flaky. I want it moist. So what we're going to do is we're just going to eyeball it. And we're going to do probably around that much per time. See, that's not right still. It's still too dry. The thing with biscuits is you gotta get them just right. And you hear that mushing sound? That's what you want to hear. You want to hear that? You want to hear that. Alright? And you want them to stick to your hand. See, it's all coming together into forming a ball. Don't play with it too much, because you don't want to overwork that dough. So now we're going to turn it out. what we call turning it out. We're turning out the dough. We want to flour our surface. A little too much flour, huh? Okay, I'm going to turn out this dough onto our surface. Okay. Let's sprinkle a little bit of flour on the top. Make sure you get it on the sides and on the bottom there. So now we have a good round piece of dough. Let me wash my hands and I will be right back. Okay, we're back. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of the Crisco. We want to grease our cast iron skillet. I cook with cast iron, hence the name Hot. That's my cooking channel. We want to grease this pan up real good. Do it on the sides, in the middle. That should do it. Just enough to coat it so you can see it. Alright. Let's get this rolling pin a little bit. And I got this size cookie cutter, or biscuit cutter rather. And that's the size I like to use. It seems to fit in my pan real well. Now you want to roll these out as even as you possibly can, but you don't want them too thin or too thick. What in the world? I think my rolling pin just fell apart. It did, huh? Let me grab another rolling pin. Thank goodness I have more. Huh? That's odd. I have no idea what that was. Huh. Let's hope none of them got in my biscuits. They didn't. Okay. Back to where we were at. Really didn't even need to flour that, but I'm gonna flour it anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna go in, and that's what we're looking for, about that size right there. We want to put them in our cast iron skillet. So let's go ahead and cut all these out. A good chef would have more than one rolling pin. Actually, I've got 3. I've started to collect them for some odd reason. I think it's because of my farmhouse primitive decor, and I put them in a crock and keep them there. Plus, I've got another one hanging on the wall that I use as a towel holder. It's kind of like decor. It's kind of cute. Maybe I'll show it to y'all one day. That one ended up walking out with it. I just shake the excess flour off. We're going to roll this out again. Okay. So let's make another circle out of this. Grab some of that flour. I kind of twirl it around and pat it. And twirl it around and pat it until I'm kind of where I want to be. And I'm going to roll it out a little bit more. It's very difficult for me to do a recipe with homemade biscuits because I've never measured. This should get us about 4 more. And these are going to fluff up real pretty. They'll be delicious. Let's see what we're doing here. I think I need 1 more out of this little pack. And if you wanted to put the rest of it in another little small pan, you could do that. But I just really need like 1 more. fill up my pan. That's all I need. So there we have, our pan is full. So we're gonna cook these off, and when they're done I'll show you what they look like. But I'll meet you at the stove here in a minute because we're gonna start on our sausage gravy. Be right. Okay, y'all, we're back, and we're gonna pop these biscuits in the oven. I preheated my oven to 450 degrees, so we're gonna pop them in there, and then we're gonna put some melted butter on them when they come out. So let's just go ahead and pop these in the oven. And they'll be done by the time we get done with our sausage and gravy. I'm gonna have Glenn come over to my left side to do this because he's kind of in my way on my right side. All right, so sausage does not render enough fat for me to make my gravy, and I also use butter along with this. But what I'll do is, I save my bacon grease, and I will put this bacon grease in this pan. You ain't Southern if you don't say bacon grease. Now I'm just trying to tell you. But let's get what we got in here in this pan. I can always add, other stuff later. That's the thing about Southern cooking. You just do what you gotta do to make it work. Alright, now let me get me a towel. A hand towel to wipe my hands with when I need to. There we go. Now we're going to add this sausage. Let's put that in the sink. Not on the counter. I'm just using a plain sausage. A lot of people like the sage. My grandmother, she liked the sage flavor sausage. And that's perfectly fine too. I just prefer the plain. The only sage I like is at Thanksgiving. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're just going to brown this up. I like to get it good and brown because I feel like, there's a little bit of a dark brown in there. It's prettier when you make your gravy. So this is going to take a while, so I'm going to pause, and then we'll be back when it's about done. Okay, y'all, we're back, and I've got this sausage browned off. You can see how it's got some crispy elements to it. I like mine a little crispy. I do this on purpose. It just seems to taste good to me. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to drain this off. Let's turn this heat down to medium. Biscuits are cooking in the oven. We're going to take this sausage out of here. And then we're going to make some gravy. Gravy can be easy or it can be difficult, depending on what you do. And I'm going to show you what to do. If you walk away from it, you're going to mess it up. You stay with it, you're going to be just fine. You see all that stuff stuck to the bottom of the pan, all that sausage? We want that there. So we're going to pull it up when we add our liquid, which will be our milk. We want things stuck to the bottom of the pan. That's the good stuff. That's the bad. Okay, so now we're going to make our gravy. So I'm going to add some extra fat. I'm going to say about a teaspoon of butter to this. Should work pretty good. Actually, you know what? Let's do 1.5 tablespoons, rather. Whoops. Get back in the pot. Like I said, I normally don't measure things when it comes to stuff like this because I've been doing it my whole life. But for the sake of helping y'all determine how much to add and whatnot, we're going to measure. So we're just going to let that butter melt down. And now we're going to make a roux. And all roux is flour and fat. In this case, it's going to be bacon fat, a little bit of sausage fat, and butter. Now, this is a half a cup measuring cup right here in my flour. I'm going to start with about half of that. And we're just going to add in here. What you want to do is incorporate this flour into this butter and make that roux. Yeah, see, that's exactly where we need to be. Not too wet, not too dry. And you're going to give it a good 5 minutes because you want that raw flour taste to go away. Just keep working with it. Don't have your heat up too high or you're going to burn your roux. Some recipes call for a darker roux, you know, like gumbo and things like that. This is going to need if we're going to make sawmill gravy, we're going to need a lighter roux. So we're going to give that a good 3 to 5 minutes. For the sake of the camera, we're going to say it's been 5 minutes. I can always put the flour out when I add the milk. Alright, now here's where it gets tricky. There's not going to be any measurement on the milk. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the consistency. And as long as you follow this rule, don't worry, we're going to season this up a little bit. Then you should be okay. Alright, so you're going to continue to whisk as you pour in your milk, okay? Just keep on whisking. Go round and around. And then once you add that, it'll start thickening up. You'll see we're going to thicken up, and then we're going to add more. Just keep adding. Okay. As soon as we get good and thickened, we're going to add more. So we're going to let that thicken up. In the meantime, while it's not boiling yet, we're going to add some salt. Pretty good bit of salt, I'd say. Maybe like 2.5 pinches. Whoop. Me and my clumsy self. I see it's starting to thicken up some more. Add more milk. Let it thicken. See that consistency I'm looking for? Add a little more. I do this in stages because I don't like lumps in my gravy. Thicken a little bit more. We should be on our last round. Now, I like the amount of gravy I've got here. Of course, you can always go more. You can go, if you got more people, more mouths to feed, you can make more. We use about 1.5 tablespoons of butter, plus our grease that we rendered off of the sausage and the bacon fat. And then we use half a cup, which would be 1/4 cup, of flour. And as far as milk goes, I'm not sure what to tell you because it's kind of different every single time. I would not measure the milk. I would just do it to the consistency that you need it. So we're going to let that come to a boil a little bit. And don't worry, we're going to add our pepper here in a minute. Cracked black pepper is what you got to have for this. And you're going to add a ton of it. Meantime, I'm going to check on these biscuits. Oh yeah, coming along real good. Almost done. They smell fantastic. Oh, and another thing I neglected to tell y'all when I was making the biscuits is I use whole buttermilk. I do not use low-fat buttermilk. I want that fat in there. That's the only way if you're going to do it the southern way. Now, if you're on a diet, I get it. But if you're on a diet, you shouldn't be eating this anyway. I'm just saying. So let that thicken up a little bit more. While you're wanting it to thick, so you know we've got the flour pretty much incorporated into the milk now, so it's not gonna like get away with you. That's why you have to stay with it in the beginning so it doesn't get away with you. A little bit more. I'll show you what thickness I'm looking for as soon as I get it done. And I can actually look at it and tell what's happening. Yeah, we're getting there now. Now, some people like their gravy real thick. I'm not one of those people. I like my gravy a little loose so it spoons good over the biscuit. The wetter it is, the more that biscuit's going to slop it up. That's just me. If you want it thicker, you can make it thicker. Because that'd be just you. Do your thing, boo. Alright. And also, you know, if it sits, it's going to thicken up as well. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn this heat off. And we're going to add our sausage back in. Just kind of roll that around in there. Let it sit in there while you're waiting on the biscuits to come out of the oven. See why I make mine a little bit thinner? Because that sausage is going to take up some room. Alright, and finally we're going to add a ton of cracked black pepper. And when I mean a ton, I mean just keep on going. That's the key to good sausage gravy is pepper. And a lot of it. I don't care what anybody says. I've been doing this a long time, and pepper makes this sausage and gravy delicious. I don't know what the flavor combination is, but alright, so incorporate that pepper in there, and I'm probably going to sneeze in a minute. You can always go for more or less. Alright, I will meet you right back here as soon as these biscuits get done. We'll put it together. See you soon. Hey y'all, we're going to pull our biscuits out of the oven. They are ready. And they're looking beautiful. As always. And that's hot. Now the next thing I just melted off a little bit of butter. I like to brush the tops of my biscuits with butter. Ooh, hear that? Yum. Yum. Okay. We'll get that done. And we'll pile them on the plate. Okay. And that is all there is to it. So let's grab a couple of these in the middle. See the bottom? Everything looking good. And then let's grab this one. Open them up. And then we're going to grab a little gravy. Let's stir it around good. Add that to the top. Plenty for everybody. And those are my homemade biscuits and sausage gravy. I'm so glad y'all joined me today. And thank you, Brian, for the request of this particular recipe. I hope that y'all try it and you enjoy it. And I hope y'all have a blessed weekend. And don't forget to hit subscribe and hit that bell for notifications so you can get my notifications when I put up a new video. Thanks again, y'all. See you soon.